Simone Kelly, welcome to Paper Napkin Wisdom. I'm excited to have you here today.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So you shared a little bit of a longer napkin, but I like the idea behind it. I'm looking forward to digging in. You said build a business that you love, but not your hobby, because when you need to shut your brain off to do your work, you won't have your hobby to turn to. That sounds a little personal. Why did you share that with?
I've always believed that it's because, like, I enjoy working so much. Like, I am literally working all the time, 24/7. I love it. It's always on my mind. It never goes away. And in those times that I need a break where I can't seem to get past whatever I'm looking at and I'm just getting frustrated, I need something to go to that is outside of work, right? So, like, I enjoy puzzling, I enjoy swimming, I enjoy watching sports, I enjoy all these things. I don't want to build a company around that because then I don't have an escape, right? Where I can be creative, I can take a break, I can step back and maybe reframe my mind to understand what I was trying to get through. And so building something that I love, that's easy because I love building businesses. But not building a business that is an actual hobby of mine because I have no escape then. I have nowhere to go except
So,
back to work.
except back to work, yeah. So, so you said you always believed that. Is it because you observed it, you saw it? What helped you gain the experience to build this belief?
I think from growing up, like just from my dad and what he did engineering. He loved it. That was really his crafty thing he liked to do. And then it became a career. And he was never happy with his career. It just never seemed to be enough for him. And I think because when I look back, that was more of his hobby, right? I think a career would have been something other that he didn't enjoy so much because after that was done, and his work was done. He didn't want to be crafty or work on anything. He just wanted things made already there to use. And possibly that's where it came from. I know from raising my sons, they were both in swim and they loved to go to the neighborhood pool. They had so much fun. And then they got in the swim team and, 8-hour days at the pool Saturday and Sunday, just waiting for 5 minutes of swim. And all of a sudden, they never wanted to go to the events anymore where they had at the neighborhood pool, they had like, Halloween things and Fourth of July themes. And they're like, I'm never going back to that pool again unless I have to actually go to a swim meet. So they lost the flavor of actually swimming or having fun at that event because it became almost a career to them because they were there, 4 hours every day and 16 hours on the weekend.
Yeah, um, I I I I've seen my kids go through that too, and it's really interesting to watch that happen. So for you, you've been deliberate, and you've built several businesses, right? You've built and sold, built and scaled more than one business. So doing that and falling in love with the idea of building a business and taking an idea through, has it been hard for you to stay away from your hobbies? Has it been have you been in the middle of your hobby and saying, "Hey, I could build a better puzzle"? No, never once.
Never broken that rule. First business was lending, which I absolutely loved. It made sense with black and white. I could really understand it. And you were helping people get into homes or refinance, get out of debt, things like that. And it was, I don't know, I really enjoy helping people, I guess is what it is. And if you look at my hobbies, they're very insulated. Like swimming is as an isolated event, right? You're swimming laps. Puzzling is an isolated event. I guess you could have friends over for puzzling, but that's just it's not my idea of puzzling. You know, I mean, I write songs, right? That you're not definitely having a group of people help you write music, right? So everything I do is very, very singular way of my hobbies and my work. Everything I do is with multiple people, multiple teams, and multiple different companies. So I've never veered into where my isolation needs to be into my business, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. So you save your group time for building things that help people, is what it sounds like, right? But your hobby time is you time. It's Simone time, where you can maybe shut that down and just be with your own thoughts. Does that sound right?
That's correct. Absolutely.
So, how do you, are there times when you lose track of needing to shut your brain off? Is it because, I think for a lot of us when we're building businesses, it becomes so, I don't wanna say the word intoxicating, but it's almost like that. It gets so exciting. Every problem we solve in creating the business just helps us gain momentum, and we lean further into it and lean further into it, and it becomes so much fun to be that creative. Do you ever find yourself forgetting to shut yourself off?
Yeah, a lot. All the time, actually, which is why I need those hobbies to be separate, right? I have an incredible passion of helping people build their own businesses, especially businesses that are service oriented around communities, helping people in their communities, because I feel like that seems to be the people I want to surround myself around are people that want to give back as well as being able to continue to perform a business and continue to perform that business while making money to do that because we're not all charitables, right? Like we have to make money to be able to provide that kind of service to the community. But I'm not looking at it as like you're gonna make millions and then everybody's gonna do work for you, right? No, it's more like you're actually going to make a living and a very good living at this, and you can scale it, and I'll teach you how to scale it and move it bigger and better and to help more people. But yeah, no, there has been many a time, and when you're helping people build a business, you get really engrossed in their life, right? Like you're just it becomes a passion where you can't stop it, where you think about it at 2 in the morning and you're writing a note like, oh, I got to get back to them at like 6 a.m. when they wake up because they're on East Coast time, right? And so you're just constantly like thinking of things that you can do to betterment the people that are entrusting you and helping build their business as well. I think that I don't know how to turn it off. I really don't. And that's why I say don't do your hobby because when I finally sit down to puzzle maybe or get in the pool, it takes me a good 4 or 5 laps to like actually start swimming like a normal human being because my brain is all over the place and I can't, I'm almost drowning in there because I'm not thinking of my stroke. And so it's, uh, it's very difficult to turn off when you love what you actually do.
Right. Right, and I love that you talk about the fact that even when you are switching gears, and when you're switching gears into something you love to do, and you love to swim, you're talking about it affectionately, you love to puzzle, but when you're doing those things, it probably takes you a little while to shift gears and get into it, because we're sort of hardwired to work on solving the other problem, the business problem, and it can be engrossing. So, do you have a ritual around trying to speed that up, or do you let it happen?
So when it comes to like swim, like you mentioned, I literally just, get ready, jump in the pool, dip my toe in first, like, oh, is it cold or is it warm or what is it? And then I don't know, I go up and down 4 times in the pool and that clears my mind. And then I start my first lap. If I don't do that ritual, then no, it takes me 3 to 4 laps just to calm my brain down. With puzzling, it's very easy. You sit down and you just start separating pieces, you start putting pieces together. I mean, it's easy to shut your mind off when it comes to that. Writing music is probably the hardest to shut down as a hobby, to actually get into because your mind you're trying to reach that very creative side of your mind at the same time all your work is like in the front of your mind, so you're trying to shove so much back to get to that other side that's buried in the very very back. So I that is probably one of the least I go to when I'm the most stressed or frustrated.
Yeah, that makes sense. So, let's talk about those 3 hobbies that you have, swimming, very physical, puzzling. I mean, I know it is, you're using your brain to solve the puzzle, obviously, but there's a lot of pattern to it, right? There's a lot of people who are very good puzzlers are more pattern people than they are thinking about it. There's a method, that you employ. Am I wrong?
No, you're absolutely correct.
Yeah, I saw the smile. It's like, I know. It's like, "Yeah, yeah, this is a guy who knows his puzzles." And then the third one you said songwriting is more cerebral. It's interesting that your hobbies are different in their nature, right? One is pattern recognition and a little bit, hand-eye coordination from that perspective. One's very physical. I mean, swimming is tough, and then thirdly, this very, let's call it, cerebral act and creative act of songwriting. Have you always been interested in those three, or did you come into them at various stages?
The puzzling and the poem songwriting, music writing. Yes, swimming, it changed from running. I used to be a runner. I'd run every day, 5 miles a day since I was probably 10, 11 years old. I used to run with my brother because he was a hockey player and a boxer, and so my dad would send us out to run. So he'd have to get ready for his lose weight, and he'd have to wear like the plastic bag and to lose weight to weigh in and stuff.
Yeah.
So I would go out running with him, and then I just kept it up as I came into an adulthood. Then when I got into about 40, 45, I'm aging myself. My sons were in swim, like I had said, and I was always upset with them. Like, uh, you only had 1 second to beat the person next to you. Like, how could that? That can't be that hard. Like, I was like, because I did recreational swim. And like, Mom, you don't understand. They would get so frustrated. So I actually had hired their coach to teach me how to lap swim better, right? To see how difficult it could be to shave a half second or a quarter second. Oh my God, that they teach me. I never said a word after that. Like, it was like, okay, okay, I got it. You guys did great, did amazing.
That's great. That's great.
And then I actually, because the running was so hard on my knees, I played soccer when I was younger. I actually just took up swim as a replacement to running.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Um, the so given that you had these hobbies, have you, obviously, this is something that you believe in, building a business, and you say that you help other people build their businesses. So, do you ever encounter situations where people come to you and say, "Hey, I don't have any hobbies. I don't do anything. I just work." What do you say to them? Like,
Wait,
because you
repeat
had these
that?
hobbies. So you have had hobbies for a long time. You had things in your life
Yeah.
other than work. But I know that you help other people build business, right? So have you ever encountered with one of them, and maybe you've heard them say to you, I don't have any hobbies. This is all I do. Where do you have a suggestion as to somebody who's listening, maybe, who doesn't have a hobby, where to start to find one? Where does someone go when they don't come into it with hobbies?
That's an interesting question because most people I come across have hobbies, right? Um, when I owned Grayson's, there would be people, and that's an estate sale business liquidation company. And people would call me that actually were estate sale companies or they were shoppers at estate sales. And I would not hire them on or offer them a franchise or mentor them because that is what they actually enjoyed. And so for me, and I told them, I'm not the right answer for you because this is what you enjoy and you're going to wreck what you enjoy and you have your own habits already on how you think things should be done or what should be done. And it would just be a battle from the beginning, one taking you away from your hobby, but another you already have instilled what you feel is the correct way to run a sale or do a sale. So I never sold to anybody who did that as a regular, as their hobby. A lot of people go to estate sales on the weekend with their parents. They've been doing it for 30 years or however much. And then they think, oh, well, I'll own an estate sale company because I love it. Worst decision ever. And I would not sell to somebody who had that hobby. And most people who I speak with, especially when I'm building their businesses, it starts off kind of like how you and I are. We're talking about what they enjoy and what they want to do for work, and then I bring it into a much more personal level. I don't ever just dive right into work. I want to see what they're about, what they enjoy, and what type of breaks they can. Because I will tell them, take a break. Like you need to take a break. Go ride your bike, go mountain climb, go do whatever it is you love to do, which by then I'll already know what it is because I'll have that conversation initially with them and remember that that's what they use for their hobby. So I don't think people may not even know that they have a hobby, right? I remember the first time somebody asked me what my hobby was, and I was like, I'm not crafty. Like, I don't know. What do you mean what my hobby is? I don't think people understand that a hobby could be riding a boat or driving a boat or, I don't know, going to the store and buying every bit of food you can think of that's bad for you. I mean, I think hobbies are, it's a very broad statement. I think it's not just, I don't know, a physical thing.
Yeah, so I think it's what I hear you saying, and you correct me if I'm wrong, Simone, but it's what I hear you saying is everybody does stuff to switch their mind off. Everybody does stuff that they enjoy doing just for the act of doing it. They may not call it a hobby, but you're saying get intentional about it. You know, be make understand where that thing is, what that thing is, and get intentional about it. Make it, realize that it brings you some level of enjoyment and do it for the fun of doing it, right? Is that what I'm
100%.
hering? Yeah,
Yeah, no,
because
1,000%.
yeah, even when you talk about shopping, you know what popped in my head? It was a crazy thing. Some people love to go to places like Costco on the weekend when they have all the food samples, and like I've heard people talk about this. It's like, did you go to Costco and get the food samples this week? They were really great, and I'm like what? No, I want to get in and get out of that place as fast as I can. I don't want to stop for any freaking food samples. But some people really enjoy it, right? Some people love that, and then they talk about it, and it's like it came up when you were talking about that idea. Just think about where in your life you have a lot of fun and what gives you joy, right? And make sure that's part of what you do. Correct?
It is. And a lot of times the hobbies that I see people have are hobbies around their kids. Right? Their children watching them play sports is a hobby. Like you have a choice to be there or not. You think because you're a parent you have to be there, but you don't. You have a choice to be there, and you thoroughly. Most parents I know thoroughly enjoy it. So when you need a break, then you know what? Go watch your son or your daughter practice at school. Maybe they're in the band. Go watch them play the band. I don't know, something that takes your mind away from the everyday work environment so you can reset yourself, I guess.
Yeah, I love that. There's something else that you said that I think is really wise, and I think a lot of people don't get, and I want to fall back to it because I don't want to lose it. You said that a lot of people come to you, especially so one of the businesses that you're in is this estate sale business, and just for people who don't understand when you say estate sale business, what is that for people who don't understand what that is?
Usually someone will pass away or they'll go to assisted living, an elderly. And then, I mean, there is some that's like divorce or moving, downsizing or whatever they're doing, moving out of state, but majority is for the senior population. And so we go in and we stage everything in the house. And we price everything and we open the house up and everybody comes through. Neighbors, communities, people on our mailing list come through and buy everything personal within the house. So it's selling everything that's like a personal asset, but not actually selling the home. That's for the realtor.
Yeah, so that's like furniture, collectibles in some cases, old record collections, stuff like that. So this is where, so for some people, antiquing is a hobby, and antiquing in estate sales is a hobby. Some people record collecting is a hobby, and they go to these estate sales to try to find these things. Something you said that was really interesting, where people have an interest in being in the estate sales business because they love doing it, and they come to you for mentorship and advice, and you shut that conversation off when you discover that early, and I'm sure it's part of your discovery, because you say you're not the answer for you. But I want to get into this a little bit because I think that's really important for two reasons. One, for you as the entrepreneur, you know what your boundaries are. You know where you can help someone and where you can't. And how did you discover that you couldn't help somebody, if they were building a business around their playground?
I think it was just logic to me. I don't know if I discovered it it's like you asked previously, did you always know you needed your hobbies? And I've always known that because I've always had that isolation. I've always been a heavy reader. I've found things that take my mind somewhere else. When people were coming to me, and a lot of them, because we grew really fast. So a lot of estate sale company owners that were independents were coming asking to be a franchise because I had franchised it. And I knew right away, one, they weren't going to they were going to be combative from the very beginning. We don't say it that way. Oh, we've been doing this for 30 years. You've only been doing it for 5. You don't know as much as we do. We could teach you. And I just thought, I'm not the place for you. And then it's the one that calls and says, my mom and I have been antiquing for 30 years. Love it. Been doing it for 40 years. Can't wait. It is my dream to own an estate sale company. I just think that this would be the great avenue. No, it's not. It's not, because there's a difference between selling everything in the home and buying everything in the home, right? So if you're
Yeah.
a buyer and you're enjoying buying, right? What are you going to do when you have a house and you have all the stuff you actually love? Are you going to sell it, or are you going to try to buy it yourself and make it part of your collection, right? That's a struggle, and they don't need that struggle in their life. It's already a struggle building a business. Now you're going to struggle whether you're going to sell the items you're supposed to sell for the client for the highest price because you want to buy it. That really, to me, is absolutely it's kind of a negative to have. If you are a buyer, you do not want to become a seller.
Yeah, it's a conflicting priority, right? I mean, you're
100%.
at conflict all the way. I think that's really interesting, and really, really sharp observation. And so how did you come into the industry from that selling side? Did you is that the way you came into the business, or, was it out of need? I'm just curious because it sounds like you came to the business from a different way than most people do.
Yeah, this was actually a fluke. I didn't know what I was going to do after I had sold I sold the lending real estate TC escrow company. And I didn't know where I was going to actually build my next company as. And so I had gotten a warehouse, and my friend said, just go he owned the building. He said, take the warehouse and you'll figure something out. And then a realtor eventually had called me to see if I wanted to sell a couch. And I've told this story like where I was like, I don't want a couch. And he's like, no, you can sell it. And I thought, well, but I'm not going to put it on the recycler. He said to go to Craigslist. I'm like, who's Craig? I had no idea what a secondary market was at all. I didn't know that people bought pre-owned items ever in my life. And so I started that as almost like a consignment for realtors. And then someone had called asking if I would do an estate sale for one of their clients. And I Googled, I said, sure. And then I'm Googling what's an estate sale because I had no clue what that was. And then 24 hours later, I had my contract, my insurance done, and I was at the appointment. And it was an amazing transformation for me. The client really needed us to do it. They didn't want it was twin daughters. They didn't want to go back in the home because something tragic. And we were able to perform that sale, and I never had to go back into that house again. And it was life changing for me. Like literally, that was something where I thought, okay, I can build this company, help the community in the best way I possibly can, helping seniors because I love seniors. I don't know, the crankier the better, and their family members, and then eventually help people build an estate sale company on their own. So it really fed into every single thing I love to do as a work.
Yeah, you lit up even just talking about it, and it feels very sincere. So I think this this I love the fact I can just see it. How many times have I been there where somebody says, "Hey, can you do this thing?" And I'm googling what it means to do that thing or the term that I don't understand. It's like, yeah, I think I can do that. Um,
Looks
and
easy on Google.
yeah, yeah, Google described it in about 2 words, and now it's even
Yeah.
easier with the AI mode. It's like, oh yeah, look at that. I got a whole description. I got a how-to guide. So yeah, ultimate entrepreneurial enabler is Google. So
Sure.
I love that. Do you want to sell a couch? It's a whole different take on do you want to buy a watch. You just can't hold it underneath your coat.
God, I was just like, what am I going to do with the couch? And the
Right.
couch was awful, like ugly. It wasn't even a full couch. It was staying, and it sold for like $350 the same day when I put it on that Craig guy's list. And I'm like,
Yeah.
it was amazing. I thought, this is the greatest industry of all time.
That's crazy, right? So, so I love all of that. You also talked about how the people who came to you because they love it, because it's a hobby, um, we're going to be oppositional. We're not going to incorporate the systems that were part of the model that you had created, part of the franchise model that you created, because you had created a model built around selling, and they had developed a passion around buying, and those two things couldn't be together in the same space, right? I think that's really so vitally important for a lot of people to understand that you have to have a singular focus. You have to understand what the purpose of the business is and be really involved in it. And then the second part of it is you have to know when someone isn't right for this, like the system isn't going to work for them, and it's just going to be an uphill battle regardless of, hey, I love this so much, I'll buy 10 franchises from you. No, you won't, because it's going to be mayhem, right? It's going to make your life hard. Isn't it true that the people who are aligned with you, the people who believe in what you believe in, really help pull you forward, like really help grow your business more organically? And sometimes as entrepreneurs, we have a hard time saying no to the things that oppose us, but this seems like it comes very naturally to you. Um, did you learn that sense of saying no, or just was it easy? Was it automatic?
Well, my dad always said no, so I was pretty used to that word. Everything I wanted to do was no to everybody, so I was pretty used to hearing it, so I got used to saying it. But no, I honestly, it is pretty natural because I think what makes it natural is I'm not into building businesses for the money. I'm not into building businesses for the accolades or the title or the, anything else out there that's going to put me in front of things. I'm really into building businesses to help others. And so when you're focused on that, and you know that takes up a lot of time and energy to get the right people in place, you very easily can see through people to say, you are going to be a nightmare. Like, no, thank you. Our personality doesn't work. Whatever it is, whatever you've done before, I think you should probably stick with that. I've never had a problem telling somebody that I'm not a good fit for them when it comes to a franchise sales or business, because it's a battle from the very, very beginning. From the moment you start, it is, you can tell by the conversation you're having with them, because I have very like open conversations with you. I don't hold anything back. I'm upfront, and I ask very pointed questions so that I can understand, because if it's a waste of time, if I'm wasting their time, because my time, okay, whatever. But if I'm wasting their time dragging them down this road, I know that it's going to be horrible. That doesn't do them justice. And you're not respecting their time. So, no, it's very easy for me to say no. And those people that you had mentioned, the very ones that support you, those shape your entire industry. They shape your actual business. Like, getting those first 5 or 10 people on board, whether it's franchising or just employees, those are the most important people. I was just telling the receptionist here, you know, my first job at 17 was a receptionist for a luxury home builder, and we get like 1,500 calls a day. But it was by far the most productive business or job I ever had. I learned customer service. I learned multitasking. I learned how to treat people professionally. I learned how to be in front of people when they came in. I learned how to speak on loudspeakers. I mean, it really shaped me for who I am today, because I have zero problem answering anybody's phone when I walk by. I'll pick it up and answer it, because it's something that's been inbred me for what, 3 years I was doing that. It was amazing. And so I don't know. I don't know why I got off on that track. I think because I was thinking about like people who are in the right position.
Yeah, you said we got into it because we're talking about the first 5 people that you have on board, either as employees or customers, are really important. And people don't get that. Like, the first people you align with are the most important. And if they're oppositional, and if you have to work on them to see the world in the same way as you, you're losing momentum every single time you work on everything. On It's almost like you're pushing the same vehicle in different directions. And even slightly different directions makes a difference. So if you're not both behind the car pulling pushing it along, it's a lot harder than if somebody's behind the car and someone's pushing this way, right? You could both be pushing on the car, but it has to be in the same direction. And that really makes a big difference. And it's so critical. I remember, I'm sure you've heard things like this, but I remember when I was starting off as an entrepreneur, somebody used to say to me, I asked them honestly, I said, "Hey, what's your secret to building so many businesses?" And he said to me, he put a hand on my shoulder and he says, "It's not what you think it is. It's one person. You need to find one person who you know you can work with, who will be there with you in the dark days, because you're going to lose belief in yourself, but you'll never lose it at the same time that they do." And I was like,
I I
"Oh man,
agree. I
right?"
mean, in all of my businesses, I've always started with one person and they were with me to the very end. These next few businesses that I'm building, I haven't located that person yet. I've been through a couple. And again, I've never, every person I've ever hired that have been with me, especially the beginning ones, are the ones that are answering the phone. That's why that call. So I said, I think I brought up the receptionist thing. They're the first one that they talk to, right? And they stay with me to the very, very end. And I've just never experienced individuals. I guess maybe I got lucky. I don't know, those first two times where the business became their business. Like they treated it like it was their business, their home. I mean, they thrived under it. They would go home thinking about it. I mean, we couldn't get enough of it when we were there. And I just, these last probably 3 years, I've seen such a shift in personality um, in regards to hiring. And I don't know if it's that working from home concept that's been happening where you're not be able to build that bond with people or what is happening, but it's been very difficult. But I mean, it'll come in time, I guess. I'm always the forever optimist. Some things aren't meant to be, and some things are.
Yeah, I agree with you. I also want to come back to something else you said that was really important. When I asked you about saying no, you said you're not into building business for the money. You're not into building business for the accolades and attention. You're in it to help others. And you get very clear. You're like, your face gets really clear when I even say that, because I think it really means something to you to be that focused on helping others. And I think that when you do that, I have this saying that I like to repeat is profit follows contribution, but the contribution has to come first. The contribution to something bigger than you, something bigger than even the business. But when you are focused on contribution, then profit will follow. It'll take care of itself. How does that land with you?
I agree. I agree. I think it's always been if you do the right thing, it comes back, right? If you help somebody, it comes back from not that person you help because it's not supposed to, right? But it will come back. And then when you're doing the right thing, it all just seems to fall in place. It's hard. Like it is, excuse me, I'm sorry. It's not easy to not think of like the bottom line and where do I want to be and my goals and my, the business plan. And we should be here, we should be there, we should be there. It's to me, it's not where should we be financially, it's where should we be on how many people we help, right? Like our goal with Seniornicity is to help 1 million seniors in a year and their family members. Not that very lofty goal, but if you notice, it's never about we need to make X amount of dollars for that makes no sense to me. Because think about it, if you help 1 million seniors, then you're making money helping seniors anyway while you're helping them. So if all you're focused on is money, 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 you kind of don't, you miss the importance of what you're doing. You forget it. I remember with Grayson's, I had stopped all sales because we were just getting way far away from where we started and putting all this tech in front of people and all. And I stopped sales for about a year so that I could rope the industry back in, my job back in, and the business back in. The franchises were getting frustrated because I wasn't giving them the support they needed, and the technology was there, but the support they needed, right, where they could go online, they could do certain things, the amount of times I could talk to them, how much time did I have to talk to them, right? And so it was very easy for me to decide to stop selling franchises to make sure that those legacy owners we talked about earlier, that they were happy and productive because they were going to help the new franchises that were coming in be productive. But if you weren't taking care of them, they weren't going to help the new ones. Therefore, that whole roll uphill is now just screeching to a halt and going down, if that makes sense at all.
Yeah, it really does. I really, I really think that we can leave it there. If you help someone, it always comes back, and that makes me think of a napkin that was given to us. We end the show with this idea every time, and it's a shout out to a great contributor to the show. His name is John Rulin. He gave us a napkin which was what you appreciate appreciates, and it started a movement for him where he spread gratitude everywhere he went. He built a movement around helping others, and the question that he would ask is not what's the least I could do, but what's the most I could do. And he challenged others to think that same way. With that in mind, is there someone that you'd like to shout out or give thanks to, and pay forward that intention?
Yeah, you kind of brought me in, thought about this, and at first I thought, well, I want to mention one, but then it's like there's a group, right? I think there are the legacy owners that stayed with me during the whole build out of the Graysons, and really to this day are very, very close friends of mine, and we're extremely supportive of them, and vice versa. But if it's one individual person, I could say it, oddly enough, would be my attorney that's been with me for many, many years. No one likes an attorney till you need him, right? Well, I became like very, very close friends with her. And during the times of building, the businesses, I wanted to quit so many times. I was so frustrated. I was like, I can't do this anymore. It's just too hard. And she'd be like, you know what? Just take a breath. Let's talk about something else. There were times when I'd be like, okay, we're just going to go do this. And she would very nicely tell me, you can't do that. It would wreck your reputation. It would wreck this. Slow down. Let's do that. When I go to build businesses, I run them by her. And she would break them down for me. Like, okay, well, if your idea is helping people, then let's look at okay, are you helping enough people doing this? Because you're not going to be happy and you're going to quit and you're just going to try something else. So maybe, and so to her name's Kit Shipe, and I cannot speak enough about her. She's absolutely an amazing person, more so than an attorney. Like, she breaks it down in real life terms for me, which I guess she could be like, I guess you would consider like a coach, right? Like,
Mhm.
she does her legal, but then she coaches me because I can get way off.
That's amazing. And that's a beautiful shout out. Thanks for joining me, Simone.
You're welcome.